Hello, Stylianos, and welcome to Cyprus. It's great to have you here. So, a short introduction: Stylianos is a mechanical engineer from Sotira that is building biological nanomachines in California. So, this is not science fiction, and thank you for coming onto this space to help us understand how is this possible and how did you make the journey from Sotira to California. So yeah, starting off, would you like to spend some time sharing some favorite memories of you and Cyprus growing up in Famagusta?
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's been a while, man. It's uh,
3 months, 3 months, not that
it's
far.
it sounds crazy now that you say it, but it's I need to visit the island again. It's coming soon. Favorite memories? Oh God, like so many. Above all, kind of this kind of relaxed atmosphere. Chilling by the seaside with your friends. Going from Sodira to Yanapa with bikes, biking for 2 hours, coming back. Playing ball in the playing hoops in the basketball court downtown at like midday in August with 45 degrees Celsius. This kind of stuff, I think, will
So,
always stay in kind of my mind. Uh,
so you had the chance to really experience the rural life of Famagusta growing up. But how did you start thinking about you know uh, at the age of 16, 17, I guess you started thinking of where do you want to go next in life? What's your next step? I'm sure you were interested in, I guess, building stuff.
my journey was kind of random um, in the sense that I was always gravitating towards scientific stuff. I was good with math and physics. I enjoyed interacting with that kind of puzzle aspect of them a lot, and I was and still am a huge fan of Formula One racing just because of the technical aspect of it. So I thought, okay, how do I get there? And the my best option to get there was to make ink and then focus on aerodynamics and then chase a position somewhere. And like I'm also a huge Ferrari fan, so I was wanted to go there. Side story, I actually got an offer for that back in the day, but the offer was so bad that it made no sense.
From Ferrari.
Yeah, but they have, so the way this works, there's so many people that want to get in there that they just want to man their kind of night shifts, which is kind of ridiculous, and they pay nothing.
Yeah.
An advice I have for people is, value your time, like really value your time. It's make sacrifices, but if you do, make sure that you have some sort of upside in case things get crazy good afterwards. And if you see no way for you to get an upside, then just don't do it. Find something else.
Yeah.
Um,
Especially
so,
growing up, uh,
yep.
I think the younger you are, the less value you put on your time because you think you have like unlimited amount of time. So that's definitely great advice and something that you know me myself transitioned to like a young adult. I I see the value of this advice. So yeah, definitely a note for everyone. So you wanted to get into Ferrari. So the best place for you to get there was in Athens. Yes. Do you want
Yeah.
to talk a bit about your early university life? What did what did you experience there? Did you ever feel limited? Studying in Greece in contact with
So,
anywhere else?
I went to NTUA, which was the kind of top university I got access to at the time. And Athens is a great city to be a student in all sorts of different ways. I did not actually feel limited at all. The university was staffed by kind of top-notch professors, talking about like, MIT professors that came back towards the lab I ended up doing my PhD in, um, was led and still is led by the one of the top aerodynamic optimization guys out there. So there is a lot of quality. The only negative I have from Greek universities is that they're really bad at marketing. So I think they should be bolstering way more than what they do. It's kind of
Yeah.
a ton of things that are going on there that most people don't know. I mean, other scientists do because you read publications and stuff, but the public doesn't know. So they need to do a better job there, or maybe they don't. I don't know. Maybe the reason they are good is because they don't spend time kind of
Like a
mumbling around.
secret gathering space. You see a lot of geniuses get out of
Yeah,
NTUA. So I guess
yeah.
it's like a hiding
Because
spot.
funny story. I was chatting with a friend the other day who is here in the Bay. He does robotics. He used to be one of the first team members of the team that made Da Vinci, which was this robotic surgery application. And we did our kind of undergrad together, and he ended up again here in the robotics lab of MIT. And I remember him asking me, "Should I come to California?" And I'm like, "Dude, are you seriously asking me this question? Come over. Why are you concerned about this question? I
W-
thought you were a clever person." Anyway,
When were you asked that question? Because I guess okay, you had like a
oh
dream
God,
to get into Formula One, but
oh, that's
you
right. Let's go back
deviated
to
a
the
bit on
beginning.
the turbines space. Yes, you focus
Yeah,
on
let's
hydro machinery, as I understand.
so let's go back at the beginning. You're right. We skipped a bunch of steps there. So I went to uni for that, uh, and then I got a bit crazy, meaning I was chasing after the most difficult thing I could find all the time, and which led to me getting a trying to get a PhD with the craziest and most weird professor in the university. That was a brilliant dude, though. So it was amazing, and that was founded by a hydroelectric energy generation company. I mean, at the time, the biggest hydroelectric energy company in the world was Andritz Hydro,
Mhm.
who basically funded my thesis for 5 years and then bought the source code and hired me to create a team that uses these tools for their designs. Now, the fun part is that for 5 years of my life, I was living 6 months for summer in Greece and 6 months of winter in Austria, and I got to complain about that, which is a privilege. You can like swim in the summer and then snowboard in the winter, and you are allowed to complain. That's a privilege. But long story short, it's to design, you know, all of these things from cars to airplanes to jet engines to hydraulic turbines. Uh, it turns out that if you want to do it algorithmically, it turns out that you need a ton of what we today call artificial intelligence. Right? So you need to make agents that try to understand the physics and how they impact uh, design, or really how the design impacts the physics. And then you try to do this the other way around. You say, okay, I want this physical system. Give me a design that achieves it. And this ends up being kind of a very costly, extremely difficult mathematical optimization problem to solve that, funnily, is very general. So the
Mhm.
same kind of problem is what I'm doing now. It's kind of a nanomachine design, and you have like a system that's driven by some laws of physics that we know, and a bunch of data that we trust or don't trust accordingly, with some kind of variance around them. And biology is notorious for this. and you have an action that you want this nanomachine to perform. You want this nanomachine to go and grab molecule A and molecule B and put them together and make a drug for AIDS.
Mhm.
And you ask your algorithms to design this nanomachine in such a way that first is stable and can be put together by cells and it's kind of small, so it can go wherever you want it to, but also does the action you want. Now, that turns out it's exactly the same complexity as designing an airplane. It's just that the biofield did not have access to these algorithms for a while. So it's happening now, right? So you
Mhm.
expect to see a ton of improvements there. I think I jumped a bunch of steps again, but
So
the
I
main
say,
idea is
like
go
what
for
you've
it.
been working on the past 20 years, 30 years, is finding a way to use algorithms to design in 3D space, in space, basically. So whether that's
Yeah,
like a plane, you're trying to feed it in air within airflows to see how it behaves, to designing small molecules
it was,
that fit in a biological target. But I guess biology, as you said, has been very slow in uptaking these new technologies. So what you're saying is that there is the future there for a lot of discoveries to happen. So maybe that's like
yeah,
a good focus for people to start
yeah,
working on.
yeah.
But
The next
how
10
did
years
you
are going to be
jump?
huge.
How did you jump from machines to bio machines? When did that happen? And was this the reason that you moved to the US?
No, I moved here for a different company that was doing kind of, it was in the energy sector. And
Hmm.
specifically, it was kind of supplying AI tools for the oil and gas industry. Parenthesis, same problem, same complexity. And about 5 years ago, I decided to make the change to bio. And there was one thing that was annoying me a lot, and it was that all of these AI algorithms are borrowing, almost plagiarizing biology systems. Like AI got a lot of value out of understanding and trying to understand biology, but like biology did not get anything in return. And that on top of the top biologists at the time considering a lot of things infeasible, but not having good reasons on so why something is invisible kind of made me want to join the field. And I did so by joining a venture firm for a while that was active in longevity space and
Hmm.
biology. And from there, then I joined Ether and I started NORAChem. The journey is still going. Curious to see
So
where it will go.
yeah, it's very exciting because in engineering, or like when you build or design something using machines, the parts are very well defined for us. So it's easy to perform simulations and expect some results based on your design. But biology is just now starting to understand like the smallest parts of its systems, and that's also the exciting part of synthetic biology, which is it's been growing for the past 20 years, but just recently we've seen more and more companies, just like Ether, going for the commercial use and trying to make these technology into like an engineering discipline rather than just a science. So that's a very exciting future that I see. So you've spent let's say your first 10 years working for another company, and then your last 20 years you've been building companies. So what would be the advice to young entrepreneurs or young Cypriots coming out of university, or maybe they've spent their first like 5 years of their early career working in industry, realizing problems and thinking of what should they do with all these insights that they have.
So here is my 2 cents about that, and it's if you had an opportunity to start a company, the moment you finish, or before even you finish university, do it. You have nothing to lose especially at the beginning of your career. There's
Mhm.
like you have anyway you're gonna spend some time to find something. Use that time to start stuff, and at some point, one of these things will lead to success. And that will create kind of a precedence of a successful kind of company that started out of this, and then more people will want to do it, and it's going to grow, and it's going to be kind of an ecosystem, which is what happened in Silicon Valley, really. I think, I'm thinking of this in the context of Cyprus, and I think Cyprus is kind of optimally positioned in the sense that people return from university and they don't need to scramble to survive. You have a family
Mhm.
system that supports you, and you have time, and also you have access to a ton of talent. And at least to my experience, you can find talent in kind of a random cafe in the middle of nowhere, like writing code for New York companies. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So the talent is there. Like, take advantage, like, meet your friends, take advantage of it, build something,
Mhm.
try to
Yeah,
try to sell.
especially like in the new age of the internet, like
Mm.
people can connect, build stuff together without the need to be in the same space. So, having that support system, that good life, I'm sure it definitely helps. Maybe not too much of the good life, uh, but
It's
it's
good to have both.
but it's definitely a very big plus. One thing I would say from my experience, like, okay, I remember you gave me that advice maybe like 10 years ago when I was like 15. That
Oh God, I'm old.
you told me that, as soon as you get out of uni, you should just try 10 things and three of them will work out. So that's what I've sort of like tried to do. So I've been exposing myself to different projects, different, uh, you know, exploring the space, both in Cyprus and abroad. And I have to say that it's also like a really big learning curve. It's not You're not just putting yourself at risk, trying to pursue your idea and all that. You're also learning a lot, which is at the end of the day, you get a lot of insights. That's what's the real value. I guess most successful companies were built on very expensive mistakes. So if we have like a system that can mitigate that that cost early on, it's definitely we should definitely use it as young young people in Cyprus. But as now as like an adult entrepreneur, like serial entrepreneur at this point, and you're also starting a family. Maybe you're thinking of coming back in Cyprus. How do you see the ecosystem here as it is now, and do you think it could possibly support companies like Ether biomachines, maybe now or in the future?
Well, I think that's a good question, because I think the talent is there.
Hmm.
Um, we are a small place, so we can support a few of these companies, but the I mean, you know, you can also import talent. As soon as you make an ecosystem, people will start coming. So that's not a worry for me. Um, I think there is two ways that this can happen. It's like the company can, no, the country itself can try to, in quotes, poach these companies in terms of, you go find a company and you say, okay, if you come here, you get all of these perks,
Hmm.
which is a way of doing it. The other way is to try to somehow build an ecosystem, like immediately there. And for the second, I think the problem is funding. Like, I know there are a bunch of people that want to start companies like that in Cyprus, but they struggle to
Hmm.
find funding. And when they do, they get kind of stupid terms. And, like, this is clever people, so they're not gonna, like, they value their time. So if you say something stupid like, I'm the VC and I'm gonna take 80% of your company for like 100K from the Citron. I'm gonna tell you, you know what? I'm not gonna do it. So
Yeah.
it's that's the that's the that's what I think we are missing.
Hmm.
Now, having said that, I say we are missing this, but my data points are kind of 5 years old. So
Yeah,
I've
but
seen like very positive steps happening on, and I also see kind of interconnectivity with kind of the European kind of VC ecosystem and also a bit of the Israeli ecosystem there. So there is a ton of like I'm very optimistic. I think we are very close to making Cyprus actually like a hub
yeah.
for things like this.
Like my experience here the past year is definitely that there is an ecosystem of VCs developing for sure. We also have like the Cyprus Equity Fund that is trying to get established at the moment, but also like smaller groups that give, let's say, these first checks or like what's the real valuable resource you can find in California. Like you have like a crazy idea, and you find someone to write you like a first check to test if it's right or wrong. And I think that's the only way that these types of ecosystems can emerge. And from speaking to people outside of Cyprus as well, they've mentioned the examples of Singapore where the whole nation was built because there were funds locally that kept those innovative companies locally, and that's how you get these type of ecosystems. You cannot just rely on outside funding sources or even like just EU grants to move forward. So it's definitely movement there, but what I would what I would like to
Here's
see,
the
and the reason that yeah, go on.
here's the potential pitfalls that I think we should be careful in not dropping into, and this comes out of kind of Central European learnings, and when I was in Switzerland for a while, it's like there
Mhm.
is like back then the European funding system was kind of split in half, and half of it was sharks that were basically trying to own everything, which stifled companies, right? Because
Mhm.
then you don't have equity to gather new people, and that's kind of I think dying away slowly because like the sharks realized that if you don't have incentive to work on this, I'm not going to lose my money. So
Yeah,
that's kind of
and
a
people
obvious thing.
value their time a lot more now.
Exactly. And the other end is kind of more of governments that want to cut checks uh, in a way to kind of flood money into a market to make a market happen. And this turns into a bunch of kind of summer projects that don't have a vision of becoming a successful company at the end of the day. So it become kind of, university projects or something like that. So
Yeah,
it's
just
kind
for a
of,
cash grab.
we are looking for something that is like the second approach is good for like a government or a fund to kind of try to fund small projects, but there needs to be guidance to these entrepreneurs on how they can become a company. If it's like someone that's kind of first time entrepreneur, they don't know, right? But if it's a fund that already had like 10 exits and they know
Hmm.
what makes a good company, it's just nudging a bit. It's like, hey, try to put together like a business model, keep in contact with your customers, or why is this valuable? Try to understand, do people want this? This kind of questions that are trivial, in comparison with the science part, which is the hard part. These questions are kind of easy.
Hmm.
But if you have like scientists that start companies, those questions do not even kind of register.
Yeah,
Like
they don't
someone
even
has to
cross
like
your mind.
mention them.
Yeah, and I think it's very important to create like a support system for those entrepreneurs. And I think that's also something that is being developed. Like we have example like the Cyprus seeds that takes small groups, research groups out of universities and spins them out into companies. But I think what's a real valuable resource that we are not utilizing enough is what you said in the beginning. We have so many Cypriots that flew and went out of Cyprus to study, gather all this knowledge, know-how, and insights from like this global market. And now in 2024, we are all building for this global market. Like there is no, I'm not building for Cyprus and then hopefully I can scale out of it. So the competition is global. So if we don't find a way to utilize these resources that we have, the Cypriot diaspora that has been working on these problems outside to advise young entrepreneurs coming out of Cyprus, I think we're missing out on a lot of valuable information when it comes to designing strategy for the island, designing even university courses. So hopefully
But
we can see something there.
here's my kind of thoughts on that is that there is like Cyprus has a really good educational system, in my opinion, and that leads to a lot of like a high percentage of really talented people, right? And we also have the advantage of a big part of those studying abroad and coming back, right? So they have like extra um, knowledge, if you will, or they have experienced kind of different cultures and different ways of seeing things. Now, those people will create value. It's like they do. That's what they do. It's a fact of life. It's like it's it's the energy conservation of how humans work. It's like people that are talented will create value, and it's all about where that value will be created. Right? Will it be created in Cyprus? Will it be created in California? Will it be in London? Will it be in Berlin? Where will it be? So I think a good metric for Cyprus as a country is to measure the percentage of that value. For my people that went through my educational system and created kind of billion-dollar companies, how much of that happened within the country? And if it's zero, we have a problem. You need to try to make try to capture the return on your investment. You're spending money to educate people, and then you're just giving them away for free. So it's not a solid strategy as far as running a successful like country is concerned.
Yeah, that's definitely like we need to find ways to measure how Cypriots abroad are creating value and how that's compared to the local ecosystem. And so, okay, what are your plans for the next 5 years? What's life for you? You've just raised like a really big round with Ether Biomachines. Uh, you are starting out now with Norachem as well. So what's the plan for you? Do you think that you can, let's say, keep building or working on these projects while living in Cyprus, or do you think you need to end that chapter of your life before moving here?
So I think I can. So that's my optimal goal. It's kind of
Hmm.
the, the optimal for me is in like 5 years, 5 years from now. There is one of these companies that I've helped build up is in such a stable place that I can, help run it from a place like Cyprus. So for me, it's Cyprus specifically, right? Because it's kind of I love that. I love the island. So I think it's doable. There is no technical barriers to it. Now, having said that, unfortunately, that doesn't mean that these companies will transfer to Cyprus, right? So that's a different kind of question. But kind of taking a step back and thinking what that means for the ecosystem there is that, if you have like people like me that have done this elsewhere and returned and are keep in touch with this ecosystem globally at this case, then that's that those are connections. Those are avenues for the local ecosystem to get introduced to the VCs from the valley or the other way around. And my real dream is like one of these companies makes an exit and we use kind of half of that money to kind of start a bunch of accelerators in the island and that. And then you see what happens. It's kind of,
It will be like
yeah,
an
exactly.
island startup studio.
Exactly. Just go for it. And it's, again, I'm super bullish because I've seen what the people can do and kind of,
Yeah,
it's on par with what people can do here. And here is kind of the top,
yeah.
So there is no, like, if you have asked me 15 years ago, I would have told you, I don't know, like those Americans must be crazy. I don't know what they're doing over there. But now, like I've spent 10 years here and I know that, okay, we do the same stuff. Like we can do the same stuff.
Yeah, so it makes sense for you, like as a person, to move here because
It does.
life is great. But what you're saying is that we need to maybe find more clear business development opportunities for people to engage with the island. So
Yeah.
let's say for a biotech company, a general one, uh, what type of you you know I don't know what type of opportunities would they be looking to engage with an ecosystem? Is it just money? Is it something else? Maybe, yeah, you go
Well,
ahead.
it really depends on the type of biotech that you're going after. If it's kind of therapeutics, making it easy to run studies in like Cypriot hospitals, you
Mm-hmm.
suddenly got a bunch of them. Access to, we have very good solid kind of genetic data, like thanks to the Institute of Genetics, like open that up.
Mm-hmm.
And by
And
open
then,
that up, I don't mean like sharing. I mean like advertise it so you get collaborations with companies. That's what the Norwegians or Denmark. I think Denmark had that for longevity. Like Denmark can open up all of the
mm-hmm.
kind of age-related like
Yeah,
gene sequencing data set. I forget now what's the name of it, but that led like a flood of companies to interact with that ecosystem, right? And now, like people from Denmark are kind of running a bunch of these companies, which is cool.
and they are billion-dollar companies as well. Right?
Exactly, exactly. So that's an easy one. I mean, we have the universities, we have the interesting data sets,
Yeah, I think what you're saying
opening them up,
is very
like
interesting because
advertising.
yeah,
Uh,
we had it's like a flood of EU funds that created these research institutions like the biobank, the Institute of Genetics and Neurology. We also have like private hospitals now that are working on facilitating studies for oncology specifically. So there is the infrastructure there. So what you're saying is that we need to open this up, find ways that people outside can interact with these structures without the hassle of, what we've
having to
experienced in Cyprus for so many years. So
exactly like
that's
and advertise it.
very,
Go
yeah.
to conferences, speak to people, like send someone here, like once every like for a week, a month to like go to all of these meetups. I don't know, like and someone else to Singapore and like find the hubs
Hmm.
that you want to do that. I think that's
I would
a
say,
way forward.
I mean, from my experience, because I guess that's part of what I'm trying to do at Invest Cyprus. I recently visited the DeSci London conference where I found some possible partners for the biobank, for example. But what I would say, following that initial interest, there is not a formal way that these companies can interact with these groups. You have these academic boards that these type of business offers have to go through, and I get it. There are a
Yeah,
lot of ethic considerations that need to go into to have into account when you consider like health and biological data. But I'm sure there is a way that we can streamline this process. And yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's worth spending, like take the scientific group that is kind of the cleverest people in that system, right? Like tell them you have 6 months to figure out all of the ethical issues. Like you do it beforehand, and then you are ready. Like, I think, in my opinion. And there are ways to. There's a ton of ways to anonymize and or to kind of create synthetic data sets that represent the same kind of structure through AI. Like there is really like it's feasible. It's not it's not something that's kind of out of this world. So I think
it's not like biology is saying that biology is not programmable. Everything is feasible.
that's another kind of advice I will have to people. Like when people tell you something is impossible, unless they come up with like a law of physics that you're breaking, don't believe them. And I've experienced this kind of multiple times through my career. I mean, I was told flat out by top expert in kind of one of the big oil and gas companies, what you're saying is infeasible. And like 10 years later, they are paying a ton of money to use the infeasible thing. So it's like, people are biased based on their life experiences. I'm biased too. Like there are things that are infeasible, obviously. But I feel like really there is a difference between very, very hard and impossible. Like they're not the same thing. Go for the really, really hard stuff.
And as long as you don't if you don't expose yourselves to all these difficult problems, just like yourself growing up, just going for the hardest things, you can never break the what's considered invisible or like infeasible.
Exactly.
So it's definitely going for the hardest problems. So that's I think a great note to end the episode. Thank you for coming onto the space. And you
It was a
gave
pleasure.
like a very clear example of what we're trying to do here, to create like a space where people can share their experiences and tell people in Cyprus or people or Cyprus abroad that nothing is impossible. It's if you can put your mind on it, you can do it.
With a caveat at the end, assuming you're not breaking laws of physics, you're breaking the second law of thermodynamics, whatever you're trying to do will not work.
That's a great asterisk.
But it was a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation, and you owe beers at Nisaki in like a few months.
Yeah,
See you in the
definitely
island.
in the chiller. They're in the chiller.
Perfect. Ciao.